Okay, if you run a business, work as an instructor, or even just own a home in Bahia de La Ventana or Ensenada de Muertos, you need to listen up. Because starting in 2026, the entire rulebook has been thrown out and rewritten. And let's be clear, what you're looking at here isn't a suggestion. It's the new, non-negotiable reality on the ground.
And what does that really mean? Well, the days of working under the table, doing a little business on a tourist visa, or just kind of making it work for the season, those days are gone. Period. As one regional briefing put it, full legal compliance is now the absolute price of admission.
So let's dive into that. We're going to break down what this new era of active enforcement actually means for you. Because honestly, getting this is the first step to making sure you can even operate here anymore.
So what is active enforcement? Think of it this way. The old look the other way vibe? It's toast. Authorities are now actively connecting the dots. They're using digital surveillance. They're sharing data between agencies. We're talking immigration, maritime safety, the whole shebang. And they're even using community reports to sniff out every single violation. In this new system, there's really nowhere to hide.
You might be asking, why this sudden, dramatic change? Well, it's not random. It's a direct response to a very real threat. A threat to the region's unique culture, to public safety, and to its incredibly fragile environment.
The source material is blunt about it. The region is facing an existential threat from what it calls a parasitic shadow economy. This isn't just about collecting a few more taxes. This is about stopping the kind of unregulated free-for-all that has caused other beautiful coastal towns to, and I'm quoting here, lose their souls.
And check this out. No one is immune. For tour operators and the whole wind sports scene, the risk level is critical. Why? Because authorities are now cross-referencing who's on your boat safety logs with their immigration status. For restaurants, especially those cool pop-ups, you're now high risk if you don't have a specialized service registration called REPSE. And homeowners, get this, you are now personally on the hook, legally and financially, for any accidents that happen with workers you hire who aren't fully legal.
So this brings us to a huge concept, the social license to operate. This is way more than just a piece of paper from a government office. It's basically a formal agreement you have with the community. You have to prove, with actual evidence, that your business is a symbiotic benefit, that it's good for the local people and the environment. It's the community's #1 shield against being exploited.
All right, so that's the why. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty. We're going to walk through the new compliance blueprint, and we'll focus on the 3 big areas that are under a microscope right now: labor, maritime, and environmental rules.
First up, labor. Federal law is now strictly, and I mean strictly, enforcing the 90-10 rule. That means at least 90% of your workforce has to be Mexican nationals. This is listed as a critical red flag for auditors, so if you're running a school or a tour company, that 90% is totally non-negotiable.
Next, the mandatory 40-hour work week. But here's the kicker. You can't just fudge the numbers anymore. You have to prove it with unalterable electronic time tracking logs. You know those old paper sign-in sheets? Yeah, those are pretty much useless as proof in an audit now.
Now, environmental rules can be super confusing, but this slide clears it up. Think of it like this. Summernaut is the big boss. They issue the high-level wildlife permits and enforce the big orca management plan. CONAMP is the manager on the ground. They're the ones checking your passenger bracelets and collecting the daily park fees. You've got to be good with both of them.
And speaking of permits, for the 2025-2026 season, Summernaut has put a hard cap on whale and orca sighting permits. They're only 50. That's it, 50 for the entire region.
And when you're out there on the water, there's another hard cap. A max of 16 boats are allowed inside the main wildlife observation zones at any one time. This is to prevent something scientists call acoustic smog, which basically messes up the animals' ability to hunt and talk to each other.
So, to wrap it all up, here's a checklist of the top 5 red flags inspectors are literally looking for. Number 1, failing that 90-10 labor ratio. 2, no electronic time logs. 3, missing your Summernaut permit or Canaan passenger bracelets. 4, your boat registration doesn't say Turismo Nautico. And number 5 is a fascinating one. Just using the old developer name Bahía de los Sueños is a red flag. It tells authorities you're not paying attention to the local culture and the new rules.
Okay, so you've seen the rules, you've seen the red flags, so how in the world do you get compliant? Well, there are 2 official paths to get legal, whether you're a full-on business or just an individual. This lays out your 2 options pretty clearly. If you're running a formal business like a kite school or a restaurant, you're on the entrepreneurial pathway. That means you incorporate a Mexican company, usually an SDRL, and get a tax ID, an RFC, so you can issue legal invoices. If you're more of a freelancer, like an individual instructor, you're on the personal pathway. You get a residency visa first, and then you apply for your work permit once you're in Mexico. It's really crucial you pick the right lane from the get-go.
Just a quick heads up on this, though. Going legal is more expensive now. Government residency fees have literally doubled, and the amount of money you need to prove you have to qualify for residency has also gone up. This is all on purpose. It's a strategy to professionalize the whole industry and filter out operators who aren't serious about contributing.
And that brings us to our last and honestly our most critical section. What's the real cost if you just decide to ignore all this? The answer is simple. There is a zero-tolerance policy, and the consequences are severe and, frankly, unavoidable.
So, what really happens if you decide to roll the dice and just operate outside the law? It's a pretty brutal four-step process. First, you're immediately banned from doing any commercial activity on community-owned lands, the ejidos. Second, you get slammed with huge federal and state fines. Third, your name, your photo, and your home address get put into a permanent public registry of offenders. And finally, that data gets shared internationally.
And this is the end game. That registry data is sent to your home country's consulate and Mexican migration, and your passport gets flagged. This can mean a permanent ban from ever re-entering Mexico. It's a consequence that literally follows you home.
But the most important thing to get here is that this isn't just some top-down government crackdown. This is a movement driven by the community itself. The local ejidos, the local business owners, they're the ones who've adopted this zero-tolerance stance to protect their culture and their livelihoods from unfair competition.
So we'll leave you with this question. In this new era of active enforcement, where everything is being watched, you really only have two choices. Are you going to be a registered, symbiotic asset to this incredible community? Or are you going to risk becoming a flagged, permanent liability? In Bahía de la Ventana and Ensenada de Muertos, that choice is now, more than ever, yours to make.